Hello teacups, what's brewing? So, hi! I've not been online very much this week, apologies. I know that our fair lady Chantal has been in and out of the lives quite a lot. She's been doing a lot of driving around, a lot of eating. I struggle with her lives sometimes just because it is stream of consciousness. They do tend to be very long, and I was about to say very large, and I didn't quite mean that. But because they tend to be very long, it can be difficult to edit and to prioritize what's important. And often she gives a lot of interesting information, but I don't have a lot to comment on. So, for example, she talked in her live, in a couple of the lives she's had, she's been talking about a trip to the Dominican Republic. In one live, she was talking about how the full balance, she's been paying deposits, but the full balance is now due in October, and she wasn't sure, and she didn't know if she was going to be able to, I think she worded it as do the things she needs to do. She's not confident, which I'm guessing means lose weight, because she hasn't been, even though it was going to be a big goal for her. And she wasn't sure if she was going to pay it off, and then it was like, oh, and you know, COVID. But then in her last live that she'd eating the sushi, she was saying to somebody, no, the trip's not cancelled. Why would you think that? I never talk about it, so how would you know? And I was like, you talked about it in your last live. So that's what I mean by it's difficult. It's interesting information about her daily life. And I'm like, oh yeah, and I'd like an update on that. And what have you been doing with this? But they're harder to react to. So I'm going to go with this video, which is eating like the 80s. You know, I love her time warp videos. I'm not dressed like the 80s today. Hi, this is me. Because she uploaded this at a really weird time. Usually I wake up and the videos are there and they've been up for an hour or two. So it's kind of early morning my time. But today it's just gone, well, it's about 8:15 at night here for me. And she uploaded it, I want to say, about an hour ago, which is odd for me. I guess she's up early this morning. Usually by the time she's edited and then uploads, it's usually about midnight her time. But she has been getting up earlier, I've seen from the lives, or staying up later, I don't know how it works. But she's been awake in the morning just recently, so maybe she's trying to do something about her schedule, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to expect from this time warp, to be honest. I'm a little less excited about it. If I'd had the ability to dress up, I would have, probably. But she didn't tell anybody until the live yesterday that it was going to be the 80s. And I don't know if she intended to, or if, you know, oh, it leaked, but she actually intended to leak, or if it was an honest mistake. But had I been able to order something, I would have. Amazon has still got a month lead time, so it would have been mid-September before I got it. So we are where we are. I'm not sure what to expect for food. In my head, I've got an image of like vol au vents for the 80s. I remember going to family parties and them having a bit of a buffet and some like marinated chicken legs and the vol au vent stuff with, on one side there was always like that mushroom stuff, and the other there was always like egg salad, egg mayonnaise, egg and salad cream, because we do salad cream in my house, we're not a mayo household. I don't know, chicken Kiev, dishes I consider quite 80s, but more, when I think of the 80s, I think more of junk food than I do of meals, as it were. And obviously there were meals that were popular around that time, but I do think more of junk food, and going by her thumbnail, I would say she has too. I have not watched this video. We're going in cold. Usually I do a little quick run through of it first, but because I wasn't expecting it and I was about to have an early night because I'm tired from work this week, I decided just to quickly get ready and turn the camera on and do this for you. So we are where we are, and we'll see what she does. It's going to be a bit of a cop-out if it's just junk food, unless she's researched really well and is willing to give us some interesting information. But let's have a look.
Hello, Foodie Beauties. I want my MTV.
No. Also, what was she doing to that note then? Was that purposely meant to be a creepy one? I know I Want My MTV was a thing. I was born in '83, by the way, so I've got some kind of vaguely early memories of that time, but I don't know if the things that I remember are going to be different in Canada, if they go more the American route. It's kind of like when you get a snack box from abroad, and the things that are in it are completely normal to those people, but it's all mysterious and weird to you, so maybe it's like that But she could not hold that note then for MTV, I'm concerned. Hopefully she just meant to be a creepy child in it. Ooh. She has. Okay, let's watch this.
Yes. Namely, the Max Syndrome stress story.
E.T. Oh, Whitney Houston. Such a waste. Oh, there's the junk. So I'm just going to pause and say I appreciated her editing. Of course. I appreciated her editing in something to try and make it special. I'm guessing because the food doesn't look spectacular. I did say junk food. You got bagel bites, and I don't find anything exciting about Doritos Cool Ranch at all. I feel like she could have done more with that, but we'll see. Hopefully she's got like this and then maybe an actual meal. But she did try and give us an intro, which was something. All those movies, guys. Although she better reference Labyrinth somewhere if you want to talk about classics of the 80s. That's my Sunday afternoon right there, watching The Labyrinth with David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly. Is this it? No coffee. It's too late.
Get into the groove, boy, you've got to prove your love to me. Yeah.
Madonna's really let us off go.
Forget about me.
I'm trying.
Won't you? Forget about me.
That doesn't make her quirky. She should have just put the second one in.
Don't. We can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends be.
Yes, there was music in the 80s. Good music, classic music, but there was music in the 80s. Okay. The outfit's making me cringe a little bit, but I do very much like her eye makeup. Can we just talk about that for a minute? She's not Madonna. Let's just get it out there. Let's address the elephant in the room. She's not Madonna. But I do really like the 80s eyeshadow. I feel like it could have gone a bit further, but she's working it here. The freeze frame is kind of low quality because I was trying to download it in a hurry. Sorry. But it's not a terrible look on her, you guys. You gotta say it, you know? I don't love the outfit, but she's got the gloves, she's got the accessories, she's got the band. Her hair looks a little bit of a mess, but it was the 80s. Everybody's hair looked a little bit of a mess. Let's face it. I like the makeup. You guys, I like the makeup. I do.
Because your friends don't dance in it.
Oh. I might, now that I've just put it on a slightly higher quality one, I might like the makeup because I think she has modernized it a little bit. She hasn't gone as whore as the 80s, but I do like what she's done with that. You guys, credit where it's due.
If they don't dance well, they're no friends of mine.
Okay.
Hey guys, hey!
She cannot sing. Let's just. I always think, okay, she talks about doing singing lessons, and occasionally when she goes into her singing, she obviously enjoys singing. She obviously wants compliments on her voice. And sometimes when she does it, you do stop and think, that sounds all right. Like, bit of training, she could do well with that. I do think those songs were maybe not for her vocal range or training or whatever. I don't think she was trying super seriously with them. But that did not show her voice to its advantage. Is this seriously all she got? Bagel bites. What SpaghettiOs was the? It wasn't SpaghettiOs though. A SpaghettiOs not available anymore. SpaghettiOs weren't a huge thing. You could get spaghetti hoops, but in terms of them having kind of like the brand power, it wasn't a super recognizable thing in the UK. And then Doritos is kind of boring. I like the background. I like the cassette tapes in the background. I wish she had moved to the side so we could see it a little bit more with her still sitting there, but I mean, we'll see where it goes.
How are you? Welcome back to another Time Warp video.
Lighting's a bit
Get my
harsh.
lace fingers here all full of
Yeah,
Cool Ranch dust.
that's gross.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
If it's a problem, don't pour the entire bag on. Get a bowl, Jesus. Leave them in the bag. They've come in a container. Just put the container there.
Alright.
So,
Food.
yeah.
If you haven't noticed already,
Is she seriously about to eat those SpaghettiOs with that stupid fucking wooden spoon? That is dumb. I'm sorry. What are you doing? You better just be... No. You better be trolling.
I'm doing an 80s video.
Yeah.
I have my little bow in my hair.
Yep,
which you can't
I
really see.
appreciate it.
But anyways,
She looked better at the top of the stairs. The lighting's a little bit harsher on her now, but well, I'll do it. I'll go with it. I think she's made an effort with the outfit. I'm willing to give her props for it.
this is gonna be, I want to make sure you see the food. And so let's get to...
Doesn't seem worth it, but...
So, my little gloves. So these are bagel bites.
Wooden
all right.
spoon.
Now, I'm not saying people only ate processed crap in the 80s, but people were eating more. And as you see, unfortunately, with the time pieces I do, there's going to be more and more processed food because as the years went on, that's what happened. More.
If that's a shame, don't do those eras. Yes, there was more processed food, but people didn't live off processed food. They don't... Processed? What even was I saying there? They didn't live off processed food. Yeah? That's not the normal... It's your normal diet, but it's not the world's normal diet. I did not eat tons of Doritos growing up. That's actually a really American snack. We of course have it in the UK, but Walker's Crisps, man, Walker's Crisps. You don't have to do that. There are meals. You remember when like your mom and dad used to go out on a date night and have something? There are meals that are quite dated now. Go look at some old restaurant menus, see what was in style. You don't have to just say, well, there was more processed food, so that's all I can eat. No, there are food fashions in every decade. I would say the 80s is known for other things. I would say the 80s is known for the hair, for the outfits, for the music, for a lot of things. I wouldn't necessarily say food, but I'm betting there's some retro food out there you could have done.
Processed food came out. And now, if let's say I did a modern time, like right now, I would probably do some health foods because a lot of vegan foods have come out, like Beyond Meat burgers or something like that.
That would be a dumb idea as well. You could, I would say that there's been a lot more focus on specialized diets. Be them veganism, be them gluten-free, that kind of, I get where she's going with that. But that would also show a fairly low ambition on the food of I guess it would be the 20 teens. I mean, even if you take this year / last year, do food fashions. Instagram food, like Dalgona coffee was a huge trend in the last year. She could do that. She could look at food trends. I don't...
So I'm trying to do foods that are really with the time period. You know, there was a lot of low-fat, lean cuisine type of things. The whole low-fat fad was going on at the same time.
That is actually absolutely true. And now we look at it with a more modern eye. The problem was a lot of the time, by saying low-fat, you then replaced it with carbs and sugar, which we know now as modern people was also not the greatest thing. I can remember being very young and being put on diets. I can remember being like 11, 12, and being on my first diet, because you know, I was heavy, and a baked potato being like the holy grail of a healthy food, because it was low fat, it wasn't too many calories, it was filling, it was good for you. Have a baked potato. They don't recommend those things anymore. Not that a baked potato is inherently bad, but there are definite fashions in diets as well, and currently it's like, white carbs, maybe no.
Juxtaposing to there being a rise in microwave foods and things like SpaghettiOs and bagel bites and Cool Ranch Doritos. And to wash it all down, another thing that came out in the 80s was Diet Coke. So let's crack it open.
Is that just a big bowl of tin spaghetti?
I love Diet Coke.
Why would you not prepare that with something?
So, and these are foods I remember eating as a kid, and a lot of you may find this nostalgic as well.
Oh, so you didn't research this, you just like, what did I eat when I was a kid? This is a window into Chantal's childhood.
So bagel bites, I remember those apparently came out in the 80s. Cool Ranch Doritos as well, and SpaghettiOs. Now, I couldn't find actual SpaghettiOs. Here in Canada, I don't know if you have this in the US, guys, let me know. But we have something called alphagetti. So it's like
Do
alphabet
not
spaghetti.
eat with that spoon like that. Don't be stupid. Go and get some proper utensils.
Yeah, it's really hot right now. It's alphabet.
That's the problem with tin food. It's like baked beans. Like, you mix it up and most of it is okay, and then there's a molten core that will take off the first 7 layers of skin on the roof of your mouth.
Alphabet shaped pasta.
I'm guessing it's not going to taste very good.
I still love it. Once in a while. Sometimes I put hot dogs, sometimes I put cheese. But
I was going to make fun of her, but I've melted cheese on baked beans before. Out the tin, you do it. I'm kind of with her about.
yum.
I don't want the mukbang noises for tin pasta though. That's not where we're going with this.
I was born in 1984.
I was 83. Have I said that already? It's been a long day.
while since I had Cool Ranch Doritos as well.
What was that big bag she was eating? Oh, no, that was Watsits. Those were those puffs. Okay, all right. It's been a little while since she's had Doritos. Given that you've had family-sized bags of other things, I'm going to be a little less than sympathetic.
But you might? I think they're my favorite. Do you guys like these bagel bites, pizza bites? They're pepperoni and cheese on little mini bagels.
I don't think I've ever had a bagel bite in my entire life. No, I'm certain I've never had a bagel bite in my entire life, but I've got to say, they don't look that appetizing.
You bite?
This is disappointing, you guys. If this is all this is disappointing. Aren't there like retro boxes you can get at the very least? Like, if products that you don't usually find anymore, because Diet Coke is still Diet Coke, Doritos are still Doritos. You can still get the tin spaghetti, even if it's maybe not SpaghettiOs. And I feel like that was something. I will give her a little point though, because she said, okay, we didn't have SpaghettiOs, but in Canada, the classic equivalent was this alphabetti spaghetti stuff. So I like the fact that she did try to localize it a little bit more. One of the criticisms I and a lot of people had of her last attempt at the 1920s was that a lot of the things she was saying were very American centric, whereas things like prohibition and going across the border, Canada had it for a much shorter time. People made a lot of money getting alcohol into the States, and the stuff that I didn't really know about Canada that would have been interesting to learn from her. But this seems like she went to a supermarket and was like, what did I used to eat as a kid? And that's, I mean, even when she said, oh, these came out in the 80s, she didn't give a year, she didn't give any information on the brand, and I just got a feeling this isn't going to go too well.
I was born in 1984. My early childhood was in the 80s, but a lot of the influence carried on into the early 90s. By the way, I have so much Aquanet in my hair.
What's Aquanet?
I didn't want to stand too close to the oven when these were cooking because, man, like...
Oh, is it hairspray? Does she have a gas oven, or is she just being hyperbolic?
There's enough Aquanet in my hair to cause an explosion bigger than a metal.
I thought she had an electric oven, but...
Obviously, I'm not using Aquanet because I can't find any. Do they still sell that?
No.
I don't know.
Maybe you should research. I feel like she chose this mukbang for the outfit. And she did say, like she said before, oh, there are some decades that wouldn't be worth doing. And I'm like, yeah, I disagree. I think you could definitely do, at the very least, for the 20th century, all the decades. She made a good point in her live. She was saying I could do, like, I'd have to do third class, but I could do, like, Titanic. And you could, instead of doing a decade, you could theme it to a different place or an event, or, you know. That would be interesting if you were willing to research it. Call to prayer is so loud. Sorry.
Family meals I remember having in the 80s were like, I remember a lot of snack food, but I remember also
shocking.
Like a ton of new snack foods were coming out in the 80s. But remember eating things like meatloaf and sloppy joes. And sloppy joes, I was going to make that because that did become really big in the 80s. But
Couldn't be bothered.
I want to save it for my TMI story time.
She did threaten us with that earlier. Was it last week? Who knows?
So traditional meals people were eating in the 80s weren't invented in the 80s, you know? I think hamburger helper was.
Well, then that. Why is she saying, I think, go research that shit? Go research it. And like I said, you can say trend. You can say, okay, it was really popular. It wasn't, I would accept, okay, this wasn't made or developed in the 80s, but it really rose to prominence in the 80s for this reason. I could accept that.
The seasoning on these looks like Christmas. Red and green. And some white.
She's had these before. Why is she surprised how they look?
So yeah, 1984.
She told us 3 times.
I remember.
Oh, wait. I think I repeated myself. I don't know how I'm going to edit this, but I may have also told you twice, so maybe I'll shut up.
I like John Hughes movies. Those were big in the 80s. You know, Pretty in Pink, The Breakfast Club.
You like them now? I'm guessing you didn't care particularly when you were 6, which is when the 80s finished. Like, you can say I like 80s movies, but if you were born in the 80s, you were, like, during the 80s, you were 5 or 6. You can give a shit.
St. Elmo's Fire. And just like the Nintendo. So much happened in the 80s. The Nintendo, come on.
I'm with you. You guys, the original NES, Duck Hunt, Mario 3, the amount of times my mom tripped on that console in our bedroom because I shared it. We had a small house and I was sharing with 2 of my sisters. And we used to just have it. We had this TV. Oh, I'm going to have to see if I can find a picture. We had this TV that looked like an old school computer monitor. It was huge. We played Bugger, which was like the Frogger game. Through DOS, we had this huge cartridge we put in it. Oh, 80s computers, man. That's some good memories.
The original Nintendo.
Yeah, I had one. So was Duck Hunt the SNES or the NES? But I remember having a Mario game on the original NES and it being in our room.
I remember playing that when Super Mario 3 came out.
Yeah,
And Duck Hunt. Oh
maybe,
man,
maybe it was
Duck
Mario
Hunt
3.
infuriated me. I think I blame my current anger issues on Duck Hunt.
I would blame it on some much deeper set things, but it was enraging.
The 80s, of course, like any decade, had a dark side.
Where's she
If
going
you
with this?
read or watch
A
the movie
food?
American Psycho, for instance, you'll get an idea of the whole, because in the 80s this whole yuppie persona came out.
Okay. Please do not use American Horror Story as a form of research. Thank you so much. Please use books and contemporary sources. The idea of the yuppie and the rise of kind of new wealth and stuff is definitely a thing, that kind of consumerism of the 80s, but oy. Do you remember some of the 80s movies and the guys that used to get the girls were such schlebs? Oh, I'm gonna have to think, what's the, does anyone remember the movie? It might be 90s, it might not be 80s. I think it's Drop Dead Fred with Rick Mayall. And the guy that the mom wanted the girl to get together with. Speaking of yuppies.
Very consumer-driven, materialistic-driven type of person. Or the kind of guy in John Hughes movies that Molly Ringwald would be attracted to.
In my head, I'm still making fun of her as being like, oh, were you watching 16 Candles when you were 5? But then I remember my parents were really big into Rocky Horror. Like, when I was a kid, they used to go to the conventions. And so by the time I was 6 or 7, me and my sister knew all the words. So Now, as an adult, I have questions as to the appropriateness of that as an activity for us, but not, obviously we didn't go to the conventions, but watching the movie at all. We were too young to know what they were really talking about, put it that way. But I just remember loving Magenta's outfit and and knowing all the words of the song and wanting to be able to tap dance. So that's what I took away from that until I got older. And now I'm like, oh, we should not have watched that.
The whole Wall Street materialistic kind of guy who's has a very shallow existence. You know, on the outward appearance, you're still put together. Everything is materialistic and perfect, and on the inside, you're empty.
Wouldn't know anything about that. But I love how every guy in the 80s was that guy. No, it's a stereotype. It has some basic facts drawn in from certain sections of society. But to say, nope, that was the 80s, that guy. He was a hallmark in the movies. There's a reason to have the stereotype. But why am I surprised at generalizations at this point? Why do I get annoyed? I mean, it's a hallmark of her character that this is the kind of content. But what a waste.
One thing I love most about the 80s, and I'm so thankful that the 80s brought us, definitely not the hair. I was gonna get a mullet wig, but
that would have been entertainment.
I know I look like the fat goth chick from South Park, okay? I'm going for a Madonna look.
Okay, calm down. No need to insult yourself. I mean, people will do it for you. You take our gig. Although, I turned back to that picture and I was like, huh, I hadn't made that connection, but thank you.
So the one thing is the 80s horror genre.
She does like the horror movies. I'm guessing that was also something she didn't really appreciate at the age of 5 or 6, although I do understand she got into horror quite early. But she's really in, like, a big issue she has is kind of nostalgia for this life that she didn't actually really live. So with the fact that she was born in this era, as an adult, her natural sense of hearkening back to something else would really apply here, because she can kind of remember bits and be like, oh, things were so good then, you know, in a way that she hasn't been able to with the other periods she's not banged so far.
On Elm Street, Jason, I think Halloween was late 70s.
No idea.
The Shining, Sleepaway Camp, Night of the Demons, those campy, wonderful horrors, Basket Case.
She does like her horror movies, doesn't she?
Love it.
Wonder if she'll get demonetized for her new intro for all the 80s stuff. The music, or was it just a loop she put on behind it?
There's a lot of things politically. I don't follow politics very
Not demonetized, copyright struck.
well.
That would be funny.
I was never big on political history.
No, you don't say.
A lot of things happened in the 80s. I mean,
Chantal's mukbanger summary. A lot of things happened in the 80s. Give me the bagel bites. I've saved you the trouble.
I'm here for the food, right? Because it's a food channel, but
bagel bites are the height of sophistication.
I'm more interested in the pop culture as well. The music. I love 80s music.
Some cool things.
The more synthesizer, the better. 80s rock, hair metal. Grew up listening to Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses.
Queen. Give me some Queen.
But the thing I remember most is stealing. My mom had like a CD cabinet in the wall unit. And I used to comb through them, listen to them. And I took her Immaculate Collection, Madonna Immaculate Collection, and took it to my room. I don't think she ever saw it again. She never asked for it. I used to lock myself in my room and just play it and make my own little music videos.
On one hand, cute memory. On the other, maybe go outside and make some friends. And on the other, she probably didn't need to ask where her CD was then. She could probably hear you.
Because you can't think of the 80s without thinking of Madonna. I mean, she had her whole own 80s style going on.
I mean, you are trying to emulate it. The similarities are uncanny. I'm being mean. She's done a decent job with the look.
She was very sexual.
Oh shit.
And I was a kid, you were curious about that kind of thing. Remember when she came out with her sex book? I think it was just called Sex. And bookstores were still a thing. Like, I know there's chapters in that, but it was a little bookstore. I think it was called Kohl's in our mall.
I feel like I've heard of that name, but I don't think we had them in the UK.
And behind the counter, wrapped in shiny foil, was this Madonna book, Sex. And what I would have given to be able to get my hands on that as a curious growing person.
If she was born in 84, as a curious growing person, I'm guessing of early teen status, this would put this in the mid-90s.
Curious growing sexual being. That would have been a dream come true. But now that I'm an adult, I don't think I've seen it.
I'm guessing, much like everything else you've discussed, you haven't looked very hard. I'm also guessing it'd be far less shocking now.
I've seen her Truth or Dare documentary. I've always idolized her and Tiffany.
I've just got this image now of kind of a jean jacket, 80s hair, in a packed mall filled with screaming kids. That's the image I've got of kind of these pop stars.
We're alone now. Cyndi Lauper. Duran Duran was my favorite. Tears for Fears. One of my biggest favorites. What's your favorite 80s song? Comment below. Aha, Take On Me, another iconic one.
That's difficult. Actually, I was going to make fun of her for trying, because she always remembers, oh, I must engage my audience, because she doesn't do it with the content very much. Let me ask them a question. But I'm kind of interested in your answer, guys. Put your answer down below. I'd like to hear it. I can't think of a specific song, but my dad had a lot of Queen CDs, so I guess as a band, that's quite a strong memory. Guess? I'd be pressed to choose one single song though, because I was quite young myself, so.
Doing these videos are super fun because I get to go back and just go back in time, immerse myself for like a whole day.
What? She does one meal, and frankly, immerse is an ambitious word. Yeah? You don't immerse yourself. I give you props for the outfit here, I gave you props for the outfit in the 20s. I actually think, in this case, given that she's obviously done absolute shit for research, this is a list of the stuff I remember liking as a kid, and maybe not the 80s either, let's count the 90s too. But you could have done your Foodie Beauty. I think this is the kind of video where, rather than it be a mukbang, just do the look. Just talk about the things that you liked then. Like, don't make it a themed mukbang, because it clearly, the food in the mukbang is not a priority for you. It's in other times you've been like, okay, I've looked up a recipe, I've done something. Even if we've criticized you for certain things, you have at least made that attempt. Here, you've just been like, let me grab a bag of ranch Doritos and drink a Diet Coke. And that's not taking me back. If you want to talk about the music and the outfits and the makeup, like, that's another part of your channel. You could have done this as a separate thing, maybe.
Someone said it would be fun to do a video from the future.
No. If you don't have the imagination to pull off a video from the past well, when you have actual evidence that you could go and research that would tell you what to do, then I think you lack the imagination for the future to be interesting. Also, right now, your future is going to be, what, 2 years? So it's not like it'd be that different.
It's hard to imagine what food will be like in the future.
Look at her face right now. Like, she can't even fathom the idea.
Especially since right now, the future is kind of grim with everything. I mean,
I was about to suggest, all right, go apocalypse style. Like, zombie apocalypse, pandemic is done, well, what would I eat? And then I was stopping and thinking, and I'd be like, you'd eat the same crap. You'd be eating the same stuff out of tins. You'd be drinking from the same cans. She doesn't eat a ton of fresh food anyway. She just would have to keep junk in our house, sealed off from the zombies, rather than order it in. Like, it made no difference to her diet.
2020 has kind of been a poster child for a dystopian future. So, if you want me to do a dystopian time warp video.
Well, you're basically doing one now. You don't need to make a separate one. You'd eat the same crap.
Alphabets! You ever try to spell things out? I was just too hungry to worry about it.
Oh, true words.
I never played with my food because
You ate it.
I was too busy eating it. I would never disrespect food that way.
We're not getting into the conversation of the respect you do and do not have for food. Not right now. We don't have time. It's getting late. I'm getting tired. Maybe that's why I'm not enjoying this very much. If I'm being a bit negative in this video, I apologize. But yeah, I was hoping for more. Let's put it that way.
We can go where we want to. Now I have that song in my safety dance. Such a funny song. And video. The dance they do.
I'm not sure off the top of my head what she's talking about, but if there's a dance involved, could we have a petition go around for her to do it? It was like when, who was it? Mike Swords, I think. It was like, please dance to Charleston. Please have that be where this is leading. I would love it. I'd forgive everything else. I'll Google the thing after this to see what we missed.
Apparently Hot Pockets came out in the 80s as well. Hot Pockets! I was gonna go back in time and do something fun.
Hot Pockets aren't fun.
YouTube has hours of retro commercials. And I'm warning you, they're addictive.
I like the retro cartoons. I'm sorry, Gem and the Holograms, man. That was my jam. Showtime, Synergy. Oh, Rainbow Bright? Guys, Rainbow Bright, you remember? Do you remember? Rainbow Bright and the Star Stealer?
Yeah, I'd say Cool Ranch. I like the sweet chili heat ones too, but these I think will always be my favorite.
The fact that apparently this was the crap she was eating as a kid explains a lot about her as an adult. I'm out of bullshit.
Diet Coke. Wash it all down. Yeah, in the 80s, a lot of fad diets emerged. I think that's where fad dieting emerged from in the 80s.
I haven't researched it. I think there was some famous fad diets in the 80s that we remember because for many people the 80s was an actual time they lived through, so we remember it more, but I'm fairly confident in saying that is not the genesis of fad dieting. I'm sure if we did any research, there'd be some pretty weird things people were recommending you eat for loss of weight.
And they were focused a lot on low fat. Nowadays, we're focused on low sugar, low carb.
Yeah.
But they were low fat, and so that, you know, Diet Coke would become popular because 0 calorie beverage. And fad dieting was a thing.
Chantal doesn't know anything about that. Like, this is basically, if she were doing Mastermind, fad dieting would be her subject, and this is still just the crap she gives us on it. This is all she's going to tell us about it. Watch.
Okay, guys.
See?
This was so much fun.
It wasn't.
I haven't decided on a time period for the next video yet. I really want to try to aim to do one every week, but if I need more time to get materials or just for whatever reason, might not.
I'm not particularly enjoying this time warp, but I do generally like the series. But if pushing to do them once a week is going to end up with this crap, do them less frequently and do them better. I was really excited about the 1920s one, although I had some questions. I liked the 1950s. This is just kind of crap, you guys. Come on.
Not be every week, but I'm going to aim for a regular series, and hopefully they can get better with time.
This one
I'm
got
really glad
worse,
you guys
but
enjoy these, and thank
maybe.
you for coming on this time trip with me back to the 80s and for having lunch with me.
We were so close to getting through a video, you guys. We were so close. She paused before that. That would have been so easy to edit out. So easy.
Excuse me.
You're not
What's your name?
excused.
Alright. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Bye.
You are revolting. I'm not excited. I do wish, and I hope in the future, if she's gonna do these Time Warp videos, I want to get excited. I want to look at, the reason I like these isn't so much her amazing production values as it is, I enjoy food history. I enjoy looking at retro recipes. I enjoy looking at stuff around it. And when she gives us a decade, it sends me on a little rabbit hole and the things I like doing and watching and looking at. And so the build up to the Time Warp is as enjoyable to me as the video, for sure. So I wish she would announce what decade she was going to do in advance, so I could get ready and have that anticipation and maybe dress up if I felt like it or could get the stuff. So that's something I hope she does in the future. I hope she announces what decade she's planning to do so I can have some fun too. Because apparently if that's what we're doing, I'm not going to get it from the content. Alright, that was definitely the worst of the three. I'm hoping for better next time. I was excited by the other two, even with some issues, so let's just hope for better next time. Lovely to see you, everybody. Thank you so much. See you next time.